Let's return to our top story now, the refugee crisis. We're joined live from Brussels by Demetrios Papademetriu, President of the Migration Policy Institute. Mr. Demetriou, thank you very much for joining us. I wanted to ask you about your organisation. When it looks at what's going on in the Balkans in particular, with the borders opening and shutting and so on, and bottlenecks being caused, what do you think about that situation and how it's affecting the crisis?
Well, I think that we are now in a situation that is completely unsustainable. The new factor in all this is that winter is approaching, that people who were able to make it to near, let's say, their destination, which is Germany, ultimately, that's where seemingly everyone wants to go to. And we see a complete disarray in terms of the European response to the crisis. A lot of these small countries like Slovenia and Croatia and others would be willing to let people go through as long as they go through, they don't stay there.
And that's the issue, isn't it? Further upstream, if you like, towards Austria and Germany, if there is any hesitation, particularly in Austria, to take these people, it starts to have an impact downward, down towards, even towards Greece, if you like.
It's exactly right. This is a domino effect. So with Hungary having pretty much sealed its border, the next possibility to make it to the desired destination is, of course, via Croatia and Slovenia, and then to Austria and Germany. So what happens downstream is determined by what happens upstream.
And your organisation, how do you intend to make your feelings and analysis known to governments around Europe?
Well, I relocated to Brussels as of yesterday for the next 3 or 4 months in order to be much closer to where the decisions are made. We do an awful lot of reporting.
And is anyone listening?
I'm sorry?
And is anyone listening? You've moved closer to Brussels to be near the decision-making?
I have been surprised by the fact that the conversation now has expanded to include trying to deal with the situation in the region, and there is a resurgent interest in trying to figure out what might be possible with regard to Syria. We should not deceive ourselves. Nothing is going to change in a significant way over the next 3 to 6 months. But investments have been made, political investments and financial investments, with regard to a new relationship with Turkey. Turkey seems to be the key to this. And I am quite positive that Mr. Tusk, the President of the European Council, has been listening. And many of the initiatives that we now see, which honestly should have started 3 or 6 months ago, are beginning to move forward.
And what do you make of...
We still do not have an agreement with Turkey, but
yes, that's what I wanted to ask you about. What do you make of Turkey's position? We saw Angela Merkel go to Istanbul, meet the President, meet the Prime Minister, and so on. They seem to come to a joint position in front of the cameras, and then separately, it seems as if they've rowed back from that. Do you know where we are with that agreement? Is there an agreement or not?
No, there's not an agreement. Yes, I do know where we are with that. There is no agreement. It's still being negotiated. Mrs. Merkel both suggested during her visit in Turkey that she was going to facilitate the further movement forward with Turkey's application for membership, but then she seems to have backtracked from this. I think the most likely thing to happen relatively early is one of the things that Turkey has wanted for a long time, which is a visa-free entry by its citizens into Europe.
Okay.
Now, Europe wants an awful lot of things, in return for that. It still needs to be negotiated. I suspect that no final piece of paper will be signed until after the Turkish elections on November 1st.